So I'm going to have a double switch here in this one box. One for my porch light, and one for my interior lights. And I went ahead and cut these 6 inches or so, probably a little longer than that. And I left them, I put my labels back on just so I know where everything goes. But I went ahead and made pigtails from my ground and my hot. And then all the neutrals will go together. But I want my porch light to be on this side closest to the door. Then I'll have my interior light switch over here. So I got my switch. When you flip it down, from what I understand, it should say off at the top. So I'll have my hot coming in the top. That'll connect to my live wire coming in. And then my hot wire going to the porch will hook into the bottom. And then all of my grounds, I'll end up with 5 grounds, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the other switch will be 5. All those grounds will be wired together. All the neutrals will be wired together. And that should make it work. So I didn't know these existed, but I think they're cool. But we'll use these little Wago connectors where I can instead of wire nuts. It just seems like they look cleaner and neater, easier to use, in my opinion. So I'm going to take my hot wire coming in. I'm going to put it in the middle here. Not that it matters where it goes, but just for my mind's sake, it'll go in the middle. And then the hot coming into the switch go in. It's going to take a little bit of time to get back in the swing of things. The weather and the storms and all has kept me out of here for, I think the last time I was down here was actually working was January the 10th, I think. Today is February the 21st, so it's been a minute. All right. So I got hot coming in to the top, hot going to the porch light, going to the bottom. I got my ground in. I'm going to go ahead and connect all these neutral wires. From what I understand, unless you're doing some kind of Wi-Fi fancy light setup, neutrals are unnecessary for a switch to be connected to the switch. So in this case, we're just going to connect all 3 of those together and just push them back in there. And I'm just cutting these pigtails about 6 or so inches long out of extra wire I've got. Obviously you want to use the same gauge wire for your pigtails as the wire on your circuit. So the hot coming in to that switch goes in that 3rd spot. Now we'll take a 5-way. Put all of our grounds together. Switch that one around. I'm going to have to take these back out probably when I put my siding up, my wall siding up, so I'm not going to get too crazy about screwing them all the way in. So the first outlet on each one of my circuits, I'm going to install a GFCI. So it's important to remember where my live and load is. I've got that marked live, but that just means that's my power coming in, so I guess that's right anyway. In hindsight, I probably could have got away with just putting GFCI breakers in just as cheap, but you live and learn, I guess. So these GFCIs are marked hot line and hot load. There's my hot coming in to the load, or to the line, I mean. Then my hot going downstream to the load. Then my white line white or neutral load. I bought these little deals too. I thought they were pretty cool. Pretty normal for an electrician, I guess, but you can cut one of your ground wires off a little shorter. Take your longer one and put it through the hole in the cap. Twist those together and make your So the rest of the outlets in this circuit will be just standard outlets. I am being careful. In hindsight, I would have made all my circuits 20 amps. I made this one 15, so I'm making sure I've got 15 amp and 20 amp outlets and switches. So I'm making sure that using the right one there. Otherwise, the load and the live, from what I understand, is not important with these standard outlets. We'll put the black or the hot wires on the gold, neutral wires on the silver, and then ground. So this last outlet on the circuit will be the simplest. So you're just going to have one hot, one neutral, and one ground, because there's nothing else downstream. All right, for this other circuit, it's going to be a 20 amp circuit. I'm going to do the same thing in this first outlet. I'm going to put a GFCI outlet, and then we've got 1, 2, 3 additional outlets, and then up to a light switch that'll go to our little bathroom light. Now we're going to work on our circuit panel. I'm going to start by putting these wire clamps in where the wires come in. Then we'll start getting all this wired up and get our breakers put in. And then when we get done with that part, we can run our 10-2 wire in and run it to our outside receptacle and see if we can get some power in here. I don't know how good the lighting is going to be here, but I've got these 4 circuits set up. So the way my setup's going to be, obviously I've got way too much circuit panel, but it's what I got. I got a good deal on it. So I'm going to run in a 10 to 30 amp wire from a receptacle that I'm going to put outside. So instead of jumpering these 2 hots, I'm just going to charge half of this panel. And that's why my breakers are in every other slot, because this hot powers this side, this hot powers this side. The ground bars are connected, so it don't matter which side I go to those. So I got my 2 15 amp circuits. I got them labeled up here so I'll keep up with it. I got the grounds and the neutrals going to the ground bar. And I've got my hots going into my 15 amp breaker. 15, 15. And then down here I've got 2 20 amp breakers. I got my 2 20 amp circuits coming in. I got ground and neutral to my ground bar. Hots going into my breakers. And I've got all my breakers off, main breaker off. But next up, what I'm going to do is I've got this 10-2. I already got the conduit. I forget what that proper name of it is, but so this will run out to my outlet outside, and then it'll power this left side of my panel. That's the plan anyway. Pretty sure this particular fitting is meant to be used outdoors, but it should do the job right here. I got hot wire feeding the left side of the panel, ground wire going to the ground lug, and then I went ahead and put the neutral on this bar, because again those bars are connected right here. So now we'll run this out and see how much luck we have getting our outside receptacle put in. Realized the mistake I made. So this ground wire from the power coming in and the neutral, I moved the ground down here to this bus. My actual bare 6-auger wire coming from my ground rod will go in here. At the end of the day, I don't know really how much difference it would have made, but I corrected it anyway. So this receptacle is designed to be outside, but I figure since I have this much accessibility to the bottom side of the cabin, might as well put it in the dry. So according to the manual on this thing, only one of these is labeled. It's labeled with a W. Which goes for white, we're going to hope. Think about all that's left to do to test this out is to get the generator hooked up and see what happens. If you're the praying type, this might be a good time to start. So one thing I did do off camera is I pulled the end of my light wire down and put wire nuts on the ends. So if you remember, for those of you who have watched, that wire is continuous, zigzags back and forth above the insulation all the way to the switch. So that's the only end that I have for that. I pulled this one out for the bathroom light, did the same. Then I also did it for my porch light. Got a green light on the plug, so that's a good start. Definitely losing my light this afternoon. Power there. We'll flip this main breaker on. Alright, so this would be the lights. So we'll switch it on. Alright, sorry for the interruption. But when I tried that, I was hot to my main breaker. But these breakers weren't getting hot. And I thought that I had them on the right bus, but I made a phone call and apparently right side, left bus, left side, right bus. So I switched my hot from left to right and we'll give it another go. So that's my light circuit. Now it's hot. So if I flip my porch light switch on, this should be hot. That's good. If I flip my cabin light switch on, this should be hot. That's awesome. Another 15 amp circuit on. The only thing I have with a plug in this cabin is this little Dremel tool. So we'll turn our first 20 amp circuit on. That goes to my kitchen and bathroom. No sparks, so that's good. If I flip this switch, should have power here. Off, no power. On, power. So I'm not an electrician, so the fact that I was able to ask enough questions and watch enough videos to figure this stuff out, I'm pretty proud of it. Now my generator will run, it's got 3,600 watts of running power, so that's what we're limited to at the moment. But I probably will put an air conditioner in here for the summer, but the ones I've been looking at will pull 12 to 1,500 watts, and that'll leave us over half of our available power. And all we're going to run other than that is like phone chargers, CPAP machine if you need it. We come down here for the weekend, we're probably going to bring our food in the cooler anyway, so really no need for a generator. We're going to heat with gas, at least for now. So I feel like 3,600 watts is going to be plenty, even if we need to run a hair dryer, or if we want to hook up a crock pot and cook dinner or whatever. I still think we should be able to do that, especially with this circuit over here being a 20 amp circuit. Been a while since we've been out here. Glad to be back. Glad to see the storm didn't do any more damage than it did. Until next time, you guys find something you love to do and do it till it hurts.